welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
Good evening, everybody. I am your host. It is Chris Wilhelm with the Green Room, alongside my pals Paul Macrie and Mr. Brian Hess. Guys, how are you doing? I know it's week one. It was a very, very tough week, but the floor is yours. Let me know how your weekend was. First week of football is back, and just give me your thoughts. What's going on? Paulie, start us off. Let's go.
Yeah.
Wake up.
So I'm up, dude. Listen, it obviously was very tough to watch the second half, obviously, in particular, when things were just slowly the life was getting sucked out of the team. But it is, 1 week, a traditional week so far after week one, where you're dealing with a lot of reaction on the negative side of things when it comes to the quarterback, the head coach, and everything in between. And so, here we are here on Wednesday.
And we're going to get into that. And you're telling me that Philadelphia Eagles fans are, I guess, a little crazy. And as soon as they have one loss, the season's over, everything's done, the Eagles stink. Is that what you're telling me, that Eagles fans are a little bit crazy?
Well, I guess they have a right to be, just for the fact that, you did lose to a team with no name. Mm-hmm. And, it's a team that we'd expected probably to win 4 or 5 games this year. So,
it is frustrating, and I mean, obviously you can't listen because I wasn't really talking about football. I was just talking about how your weekend was, what you were feeling, if you were happy, what you ate, and you didn't listen. So Hess, take the floor.
I was happy with it.
Did you golf this weekend? What's up? I mean, obviously I know the Eagles game stunk, but
I wish I would have golfed. Probably would have felt a little better. But listen, we live and die with this team. We breathe Eagle air, we bleed Eagle green, man. So, for Eagles fans, after a loss, it's always doom and gloom. It has been for all our lives. This is what we do. And, it's tough because, you had these injuries specifically to the offensive line. Going into the game, you were hoping that some of these guys could step up, some of these backups, some of these young guys, and hopefully – Coach Stoutland could coach these guys up and be ready to go week one. And, man, it did not look good at all. Even guys like Sayamalo and Kelsey, we knew Jason Peters was probably not going to be in the greatest shape. But, I mean, that was just the basis of the Eagles' struggles on offense, especially in the second half.
And you know what? It comes down to it. And like I said, it was my fiance's bridal shower. It was, I think, her 4th bridal shower, depending on how many times it got pushed back due to COVID. We're still not married. So last year when you watched the show, I said I was getting married. I'm still not. So that may be good news or bad news. We haven't decided yet. But so I was playing golf during the bridal shower, and I had the game on my iPad. I was listening on the phone or listening on the radio. And it's typical Eagles football, right? I mean, they get out to a 17-0 lead. And really, if you go back and watch it, after the first drive, they didn't really look great at all. I mean, even after the other 2 scores, it's not like they were firing on all cylinders. You watch that first drive and it was bang, 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 bang. It felt like 2017 all over again when that offense was humming and Carson Wentz was the guy. But now they come back and lay an egg. Obviously, you hear Dwayne Haskins is in the locker room firing up the troops. I mean, how do you get into halftime of that football game and make 0 adjustments and put your football team in a position to not come out fired up and win? And who's to blame? I mean, is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? Is it just week one? Is it no preseason? Or are we just writing the season off altogether? I mean, what is wrong with this football team, Paul? I'm looking at you.
Well, first off, I didn't know that you actually golfed during the game.
I did.
So I want to. Was it worth it? Where did you golf?
Trump National.
Okay.
Worth it.
then obviously you're going to golf no matter what time of the year it is, or there could be 2 feet of snow. You'll probably still golf on that course. But anyway,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I hit him great. I was right down the fairway. It was
sure.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I was on pace to shoot 72.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to stop and watch the second half of the football game at the bar. So yeah, my Sunday was great.
So you shot 72 on the front nine. Then you're saying.
Yes, on actually the first 10 holes.
Okay.
So
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, but anyway, to get to the game, this obviously as you said, 17-0. The offense looks great. Goddard put on a show in the first half. Wentz going back to his bread and butter, targeting the tight ends. Even had a completion to Deshaun, a 55-yard completion to the rookie Jalen Reagor. So obviously, everything was going great, but then that interception right before the half, we didn't think much of it. We're like, okay, just one mistake. But then at the same time, you're like, you might not want to give the Washington football team any momentum because they were not moving the ball at all. They had no ability. They showed no ability of going 75, 80 yards down the field and driving. So the only way they were going to score or get points is if the Eagles gave them prime field position. And that's what happened. For the rest of the game, was the turnovers or the fourth down not converting on fourth downs, Washington got the prime field position, and that's what happened. And I think if you want to point a little bit to the head coach, focus a little more on that. We know Doug loves to be aggressive. He won a Super Bowl being aggressive, and that's all great because he had to do it against that opponent in the Patriots. But when it came to a team, Washington, that showed no ability of scoring, or at least scoring on a long drive, why give that team any type of momentum by being too aggressive on a 17-0 lead? I know they didn't have Miles Sanders in the game, so if you have him, obviously you're going to lean on him and run the ball more. So I'm not even getting to that, but
Boston Scott actually showed. I mean, he's okay.
Shifty.
I mean, he's
shifty. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a shifty football player. He's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he runs hard. He's obviously not going to be an every down back, but I was actually happy with his performance on Sunday. If you could be happy with anyone's performance, at least we have another scat back or someone else that we can lean on. But
right.
When you specifically talked about the coach, and I'm going to segue now over to Hess, I want to talk about the quarterback, okay? Because this has been a huge topic of discussion over the past year. Obviously, the Eagles come out in the second round and they draft a guy like Jalen Hurts, and he did not dress on Sunday, and he's not going to dress probably for a few weeks until they see, how the season is going. But Carson Wentz has been getting a lot of criticism. I think some of it is warranted. There was one thing that he was supposed to work on in the offseason, and he didn't address it. The guy put the ball on the carpet twice in this football game, and that has been one of his number one concerns for the past 2.5 years. And you're a professional football player, you're a franchise quarterback, you're telling me that in the offseason you can't work on protecting the football? It's absolutely inexcusable. So, Hess, what did you see from the quarterback? What are your thoughts on him? Because I know he is, you've been very, very high on Carson. I just want to see what your thoughts are after 1 week.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us, we have been in discussions about Carson Wentz for, it seems like, since the day Jalen Hurts was drafted. Mm-hmm. And, with Carson Wentz, I mean, he looked phenomenal for a quarter and 10 minutes into the second quarter, right? Yes, he fumbled, he put it on the carpet, but other than that, I mean, his passes were crisp, deep ball to Reagor, got Goddard involved like crazy, touchdown to Ertz. I mean, it looked like he was hitting everything. Moving around the pocket. I mean, he was getting a lot of pressure, but he was moving around nice, making the right decisions. He did fumble once, which was recovered by Jason Kelce, led to an Eagles field goal. But if you remember back to before he was drafted, remember John Gruden used to do this thing called QB camp, right?
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz was on for one of his episodes, and the way he holds the ball, John Gruden pointed that out right away, and he said, listen, you got to clean that up. You have to be a two-handed monster. That was the term that he gave Carson Wentz to be, that two-handed monster. And these last 2 years, dude has completely forgotten keeping two hands on the ball when he's getting hit, when he's getting pressured. And teams are picking up on that. Teams are seeing that on tape and okay, these are Wentz's tendencies now. When he's getting pressured, he likes to duck and go after that ball because he doesn't hold on to it tight. All
Yeah, I
right.
mean, and it's fine because for every time that he's going to make one of those spectacular plays where he ducks under somebody and makes a throw, he's going to put the ball on the carpet, the other 3 times. And the turnover game is the most important part of a football game, right? Whoever wins the turnover battle is more likely to win. So it's disheartening. And like you said, you bring up an absolutely great point that John Gruden, who part of the Fired Football Coach Academy or whatever his hat stated, that was his number one concern for the guy. And here we are now, I believe in year 5 or year 6 of Carson Wentz, and he still
5.
has the same year 5. So how can you be the franchise quarterback? How can you collect a check for $100 million and not improve on one of the it should be the easiest facet of your ball game, right? Keep 2 hands on the football when you're dropping back and you're avoiding pressure or whatever it may be. He holds the ball like a loaf of bread, and guess what? It's a tap of the finger, the ball's out. And guess what? People get hurt that way. I mean, linemen get rolled up on. There's a lot of shit that happens from it. It's just completely inexcusable for your quarterback to be able to put the ball on the carpet as much as he does. But Paul, go ahead. I just cut you off.
Yeah, he was doing the same stuff in 2017 when he was obviously had his best year before the ACL injury, but he was able to, as I think we used to term it, the Houdini acts, getting out of those, pressure situations. I think the one notable highlight was that game against the Redskins at the time were called the Redskins in that Monday night game where he got out of what we all thought was a sack and ends up running, up the middle for a 15, 20-yard gain, and then he slides. I mean, that's stuff that he was doing in that year, but I don't think it was necessarily that he was protecting the football that much better that year. He just had some luck on his side, and maybe pre-ACL had that athletic movements that he doesn't have maybe anymore. I don't know if he's ever going to get that back because he doesn't run as much as he used to. So
I mean, it could be a confidence thing. It could be his previous injury history. But I obviously share this comment on the page right now because Rick is asking. We didn't fire Paul yet, and actually we just hired Paul into the green room. It's his first. Crack at the green room, so he is going to be around for a while. But it's a perfect segue into it because there was conversation before the season that the coach and the GM are on the hot seat. Okay. And it seems like the grace period or the Super Bowl, the allure of having the championship, it was weaning off last year. And it's officially dead now, okay? And people are back to business. They're the Eagles of old. The Super Bowl is great. It's in your trophy. You can never take it away from us, but it is now done. Hess, what do you think that level is? I mean, how hot is that seat for Doug? Or is that a complete overreaction? Because it didn't come up after week 1. It was before week 1 that it was reported by Jeff McClain. So what are your thoughts? I mean, is it after week 1 or are we jumping ahead here? Or do you really think that his job is in jeopardy?
I think the seat's getting a little warm just because, Jeff McClain breaks that story right before the season starts. And it's really, it seems to be like Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman are like this, okay? And they're making all the decisions. I mean, you saw it last year after the end of last year, Doug's end-of-year press conference. Are Mike Groh and Carson Walsh coming back? Doug says, absolutely, they're coming back. 2 days later? Gone.
That was a red flag.
Big time red flag,
That's
right?
a big red flag there. I mean, that tells me the owner has lost all faith in his head coach to make decisions. I mean, to override him after he makes a public statement, keeping his guys. And I know he cut you off there, but it's a great point. I mean, I think it's real. And you know what? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's funny because it was hinted last year about the Patriots and everything with Bill Belichick and, they're, whatever. There's no beef between them. And obviously the book comes out. I mean, these guys are so plugged into these locker rooms, all right, that some of the stories that they are sharing are coming to find out that there's validity to it. I mean, there is heavy traction there. And him reporting this, it kind of reminds me, I'm not comparing the Eagles to the Patriots. Let's not get that misconstrued, all right? If the Eagles could be a sliver of what the Patriots franchise has been over the last 20 years, it would be fantastic. But I mean, I do believe, and you bring up the great point, that they came out 2 days later and fired those coaches. I do absolutely believe that his job is on the line, and he is coaching for his job, and that's what it's going to come down to, because we have to talk about it. Are the Eagles all in on Carson Wentz? Are they all in on Carson Wentz? Or do you see this franchise? Is it Carson or Doug, or is it both? If they shit the bed this year, will you see them move on for both the quarterback or just the coach? Paul, which one do you think? Or do you think, again, it's all an overreaction?
So why did you give Wentz then that long-term extension, last offseason then?
Because
They could have easily did what the Cowboys have done with Dak Prescott and just sat him, got him into a situation where you're franchise tagging him. Then, if you didn't want to commit long term,
But if he has an MVP year last year, now going into last offseason, you would have had to pay him $40 million a year, whereas because you signed him when you did, it's $30 million. They only paid him, 30 a year?
Right. Compared now with these other quarterbacks, again, Mahomes and Watson, the last, obviously, 2 big contracts. Wentz is not making as much as that. But I'm saying, why the long-term commitment period then, if you really didn't believe? Because they signed him off of the 2018 season where he got hurt again. Foles took over and led them to the playoffs before they lost to the Saints in the second round. So this is like you committed long-term to somebody that proved that he was healthy again. So why did you give him that type of deal then?
They didn't sign him to a 10-year deal. I mean, they signed him to what? To a 3 or 4 year. I think it was a 4-year extension. What ended up being a 5-year deal because they had picked up his option.
Okay, right.
But and then remember they have the opt out after the first 2 years, which is after next year.
Okay, I mean, so there's language in that contract that, to me, the reason that they paid him when they did is because they didn't have faith in waiting another season and then ending up having to pay him $300 million or whatever the dollar amount was going to be to keep this quarterback. They got him in at what we're finding out is a discount. Okay. Now, I hate to use that term, a discount, because I'd rather be paying a guy like Patrick Mahomes $400 million to have Patrick Mahomes than have a shit quarterback at a discount. Now, I know we're crushing Carson Wentz, and I think that it's justified because we continue to look back to the MVP type season, the Super Bowl year, where obviously his season ended against the Los Angeles Rams, which we're going to be getting into next. But the trajectory for Carson Wentz, it's always been somebody else's fault. Well, the offensive line, it's he doesn't have any weapons. He doesn't have this. So it's like we're just making excuses for this guy at this point, because any other quarterback that makes other quarterbacks make everybody around them so much better. But now for Carson, it's a crutch. Oh, well, they didn't have any receivers. They didn't have any running backs. So if the quarterback's that good, he should be able to make everybody better on the field. Obviously, there's a point in time where you're playing with practice squad players and third stringers. Then, yeah, I understand what he did at the end of last year was impressive, but it's still a humongous question mark moving forward if we do have our franchise quarterback. And Chris Tenta just comments right now, I'm going to put it up on the screen, Carson's not the problem, Doug's the problem. And I do believe that this has become divided. You have the people that are in Carson's camp or they're in Doug's camp. Or I'm in nobody's camp right now, okay? I'm not done with Wentz, but he has to start to improve. I mean, he's not shown any progress in his game, but Doug has been an absolute shit show since the Super Bowl as well. So we have it up there. Who do you blame more? Hess, who do you blame more?
I'm going to lean towards Doug being the problem, because Carson, you can fix that. I think it's a mental thing with Carson, because for whatever reason, it was Nick Foles. Pressure for Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. Now it's the pressure's on Carson to win the Super Bowl, and it seems like, and now they just drafted Jalen Hurts. He's got to get it through his head. He doesn't have to be the hero out there. He has to just play smarter. Okay, stop with the turnovers. Interceptions haven't been a problem for Carson Wentz in the past. 2 in the first game is not a good sign, because that's the one thing he wasn't doing, was throwing picks. Doug Peterson, his creativity since the Super Bowl has gone downhill steadily. Okay? He's got to put these guys in better positions. And listen, I love that he's aggressive. I love big balls, Doug. Don't get me wrong. All right? 4th and 4 in the third quarter to Washington 35, when your offense hasn't moved and you're turning it over, and the defense is holding Washington to not moving the ball at all, you got to punt that ball, dude. You got to play field position.
Yeah.
All right?
Absolutely.
Listen, I love that you're aggressive a lot. In that spot, you got to punt, dude.
Yeah, and I have been for every single time he's gone for it on fourth down. I love my coach. I'd rather the mentality is he's out there to win the football game. He's not out there not to lose. But then it gets to that point where you said you have the lead, you're on your own 35-yard line, you punt the fucking football. Okay.
Hold on. Brian Attard, since the Super Bowl is a funny way to say since Frank Reich left. Could you put that up there?
Yeah.
What has
okay.
Frank Reich done in Indy? What
Thank
has
you.
he done?
Right.
Nothing. Will you stop with that?
Zero.
Well,
okay.
Well, you had the Andrew Luck for the first year, and they made
Don't
the
give a
playoffs,
shit.
And then last year,
you don't win Super Bowls because you're offensive coordinator. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. All right,
No, I don't agree with either.
When did Frank Reich become the second coming of Bill Belichick? Okay, get the hell out of here. All right, the Eagles were, a totally different football team. Now, mind you, it is hard to sustain success for a very long time because you do have, pieces of your coaching staff or your coaching tree get picked. And that's why it's impressive for these guys like even Big Red, Bill Belichick, these guys that have coached for 20 years and they've had every assistant underneath of them leave and get other jobs and they continue to maintain success. So yes, I do think that the coaching staff has a piece to it, but they didn't win the Super Bowl because of Frank Reich. Let's just get that's lazy.
And that's where I blame a lot of this on Howie Roseman because he tried to keep this Super Bowl team together. And why has New England been successful for all these years? Besides the fact they had a constant in Tom Brady, they don't give a crap who you are. If they're ready to move on from you, they're going to move on. They don't care how good you were the previous season. If they have guys ready to go behind you, they're moving on. Howie was trying to keep it together the last 2 years, and it failed. It failed. 9-7. Yeah, you barely made the playoffs. You needed help both times to get in.
Needed last 4-game push even to make it. Right.
So now you see where you don't hit on your draft picks. You have no depth when these injuries occur.
Right.
You had the depth back in 2017 because you weren't paying Carson Wentz. Now you have to pay Carson Wentz. You got to start hitting these draft picks. And when you're not hitting them, you got no depth, and you get an offensive line like you just had on Sunday. It's a terrible, terrible equation. I'm sorry, this looks like a 5-11, 6-10 team based on the roster, the coach, and Carson Wentz struggles.
And at what point in time does this season get out of hand? Do the Eagles start off 0-5 and you see a guy like Jason Kelce just say, "Fuck it, I'm done. I'm opting out." Opting out. Listen,
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, with that potential. Yeah, that's an option.
These guys can opt out. There's nothing that says that they have to, continue to play football.
You can blame it on the coronavirus, right?
Yeah, that's fine. They can do whatever the hell they want. But I think it is a big concern, moving forward for a lot of these veterans. If they do want to come back, if they do want to play another year, why the fuck are they going to go out there and risk their, Jason Kelce doesn't have, he doesn't have Brandon Brooks next to him anymore. All right. He's probably not going to have him because they didn't put him on the IR. They put him on the PUP. So he could come back in after week 6. But
there's
again,
no point if they're
0-6 at that point, and then he has, obviously the mental health, concerns. He's had that in the past, been very public about that. And, if a guy like Jason Kelce, who has been the anchor of that offensive line, if he retires and then Jason Peters retires, why, Brandon Brooks has made the money that he has to make in his life, all right? And he may not need football anymore after another injury. He could be done. So you could be going into next season with Lane Johnson. That's it. You have a Pro Bowl tackle. This roster is horrible. This is a bottom 5 roster in the NFL with absolutely no depth, and they want to talk to Zach Ertz about re-signing him. It's like we should be taking. I sound like Brian Attard right now. The Eagles should be more focused on trying to rebuild this football team because they are so far away from winning a Super Bowl that it is not even funny. All right. And great. We could be on here next week after they beat the Rams by 50 points and I'm going to be singing a totally different tune and I'll be, fucking Eagles maniac again. But it is, it's bad. It's bad. Ant is obviously a host on the Green Room as well. Trade Ertz for picks ASAP. Is there even a market for Zach Ertz right now, guys?
Well, right now, but it makes it's never going to happen. But the team right now that needs a tight end after the injury to Blake Jarwin, and that's the Cowboys. But they're never going to trade. The Eagles are never going to trade with the Cowboys for anything significant, at least. So it makes no sense. So why even talk about it? But other than that, I don't know who else has a real tight end need right now either. So
what does it change? I mean, if Zach Ertz goes to the Cowboys, I mean, who cares? It is what it is.
But
all
the
right.
two
I mean,
teams, the two front offices aren't going to do it. That's the thing. I mean, we might say we don't care because it makes sense to
but
just
if
do it.
the Cowboys are saying that their roster is that close to winning now, if they have to give up
Yeah.
some capital to get a tight end that is far better than Blake Jarwin and could be the second or third option in that offense, it is it's big. And we have the resident picker right here from Sal Vito. Sal Vito is a very interesting character, and Sal Vito is saying Eagles large on Sunday. I don't bet the birds, so I don't think I'm going to be following Sal Vito. But
Did you see where it opened up at?
we
It
have it.
opened
We
up the
have.
Eagles. It opened up the Eagles 2.5, and now it's the Rams -1. So
Well, there you go. So the Eagles hope they open up at home. The Eagles have just sent out an email to all of their season ticket holders that they are shutting down all of the streets surrounding the stadiums to ensure that nobody tailgates. And of course, I know Brian Attard is very happy to hear that because he hates tailgating, okay? Which is one of the greatest things out there is to be able to tailgate. And obviously a guy like Johnny Rodeo who runs his tailgate, it's absolutely sick. You can't even go into a parking lot and drink. They're shutting everything down. But we've talked. I'm sick of talking about the Washington football team. I'm sick and tired of talking about Doug and Carson and what's next for them because we still have 15 more games this season. So let's talk about week 2. The Los Angeles Rams come out on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys, and they win by 3. Those mother humpers freaking covered. I hate them so much. So now we coming into week 2. It's a big matchup, and you saw a guy terrorize a much better offensive line last week in Aaron Donald. What are the Eagles going to do this week? How are they going to be able to contain a guy like Aaron Donald? How are they going to score points? What is the key to success? How are they going to beat this football team on Sunday, Hess?
Look, the one bright spot that you can really take out of the Redskins loss was the fact that the defense played very, very well. I mean, they were putting pretty bad spots in the second half there where they had to defend short fields. They're the number 1 defense yardage-wise, actually, in the NFL. So you got to hope you can get some pressure on Jared Goff. Dallas didn't really do that. I mean, Alden Smith looked pretty good and got in there a couple times. It looks like he's back with a vengeance.
He's back.
5 years out of the league, right?
Motherfucker.
So you got to pressure Jared Goff into some mistakes here, which he's been known to do. All right, you got to defend these receivers. Darius Slay looks like he's that number 1 guy. Whether he'll probably be on Robert Woods. So you got to defend Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Van Jefferson. Listen, these guys got some weapons. They got Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers out of the backfield. Malcolm Brown looked pretty damn good on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's the guy moving forward, we don't know, but they got 2 very capable backs coming out of the backfield. So the Rams are talented, and then obviously on defense with Aaron Donald, I mean, he's the best defensive player in the game in my book, and you're going to have to double team him more often than not. And, with the way this offensive line is playing, thank God Lane Johnson's probably going to be coming back this week. You're going to probably have to keep Miles in quite a few times, more than you would like to block, to at least chip, So this is going to be a difficult game plan. It wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles won after how bad they looked in the second half, actually, because that's the NFL for you, right? So
it's the NFL.
You're getting Miles back, you're getting Lane back. Those are 2 huge guys, probably 2 of your 5 best players.
Over the past couple of years, for whatever reason, when the Eagles played the Bears, they just absolutely neutralized Khalil Mack. When they've played the Rams, they've neutralized guys like Aaron Donald. When we've sat there and thought, these guys are going to absolutely kill us. And for whatever reason, when they see these guys, they actually game plan well to, leave a tight end, make sure a running back chips, just to give them a little bit of extra time, which, again, just pisses you off even that much more, the Redskins game, because they're trying to run screens and, they're sniffing everything out. So, it's going to be an interesting matchup. So we talked about obviously trying to neutralize a guy like Aaron Donald, but I mean, Paul, what do you want to see out of this offense? I mean, they're saying Miles Sanders is going to be playing this week. You have Lane Johnson back, so we're going to have a little bit more talent on the offensive side of the ball. But will the Eagles, or can the Eagles, get back into a mix that we saw back at the Super Bowl where they were running the ball? They were the top running team in the NFL, and we have not seen that since. Can they get back to the ground game? Can Miles Sanders be the workhorse to get the Eagles back into the winning column?
Yeah, I mean, he showed, especially in the second half of last year when he really started to get in a rhythm, he can, carry the ball and touch the ball, I should say, 25 to 30 times a game. I mean, I really think you're going to have to, maybe not for the first game back, considering, we didn't have a preseason and, he missed a lot of the August, training camp and, didn't play the first game. So probably not going to be 25 to 30 touches the first game. But you would like to see him in that low 20s as far as touches for the first game back and really be a vocal point of that offense as long as Aaron Donald's not disrupting that and really putting in the Eagles in a situation where they're going to have to throw the ball more. You would like for the Eagles to establish that run or at least get the screen game going a little bit, which they were unable to do in the Washington game at all. Washington did a tremendous job of sniffing out the screen game against the Eagles. A couple of times they attempted it in the first half. But, obviously Sanders, you'd like to see him as the vocal point. But then, Deshaun, I don't know what's going on there. Doug is saying that, they're trying to keep him fresh and, he's not hurt. And they're just, it's almost like they're keeping like a pitch count on him, I guess, from what happened last year. They're so nervous that if you play him too much, he's going to get hurt again. But you need to get him out on the field because you have to figure Ramsey's going to match up on, Deshaun and maybe even a little bit on Rieger as well at times, the two-speed receivers. So, but, obviously I'd like to see them get back to the tight ends too and Ertz to get his head out of his ass and start playing football again and not worry about this contract either. So that would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it on the head. I mean, like, let me just talk about Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, I mean, it's a business. I mean, they have to pay.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, the Deshaun, for whatever reason, like this was the reason why I didn't like the signing when it happened, was because the guy's on a pitch count during the game and then he's got rest days during the week. He's not even practicing.
He didn't practice today. They gave him the day off today. They gave him the day. What did he need another day off for?
Why does he have a pitch count then on game day? Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not practicing and he's got rest days during the week, then you should be full go on Sundays.
Exactly.
Not on freaking pitch counts. That drives me.
If you want to hold him out a day in practice during the week, that's fine. We don't care. But you're right, Hess. On Sundays, none of this. He's only playing, I don't know how many snaps he ended up playing on Sunday, but it obviously wasn't as many as we're used to considering he was supposedly healthy, even though some people were like, oh, he's holding his shoulder on the sideline or whatever. Or maybe he was pounding. I don't know. I really don't know. But the fact is, I didn't like the body language on several of these guys out there. Where's the leadership right now as well? I mean, that's another thing. I mean, obviously – Malcolm Jenkins is no longer on the team, and he was your heart and soul on defense and the leader. So where's the leadership now?
Well, and that's been the biggest concern, and that has been, we talked about, where there is smoke, there is fire, and that's a big question. There have been rumblings in the past about this roster and this team not fully respecting or appreciating the quarterback that they have, because every team's leader should be the quarterback, okay? And that's just part of the game. I mean, if you are the quarterback and you are leading the offense and you are leading these men out there on the field on Sunday, you have to be the leader. And it has been a question mark for the past couple of years. Can this guy lead this team? And he hasn't. I mean, he hasn't. It's been a big question mark and obviously a huge concern, and it has not stopped. But it is a concern, but I know we have a few comments coming in. I know we spoke about betting the game, and we're going to get to our picks in a little bit, but I love watching line movement, and you look at it, and like you said, Paulie, I mean, Vegas Insider has them right now. They opened up the Eagles as 4.5 point favorites, and it's all the way down to a pick 'em, okay? And to me, if this was an Eagles line, they would be keeping that at 3.5 or 3 and wanting the money to pour in on the Rams. They're trying to get that line down to even out this action because it's going to be a crazy year. I mean, with obviously with COVID, with no offseason, no preseason, it's surprising that we actually saw good football this weekend because I thought that we were going to see a lot. We were going to see a big problem with this product that they put out there, but it was fine for week 1. So I don't like the line movement, but if we have to make a pick, we're going to do it. It's at a pick 'em. It's Wednesday. I know this line's going to continue to move, but Paul,
DraftKings has it at -1. So.
-1 for the Rams.
Rams, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, let's say for this argument, we are going to use the Vegas Insider and call it a pick 'em. So, Paulie, who are you picking on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to because I'm just going to go with the theory of the Rams coming to the East Coast. I know the home field situation obviously doesn't matter. There's no fans, but it's still the travel and obviously everything that the road teams have to deal with this year, especially with, the pandemic still. I think the Eagles will win this game. It's not going to be pretty, but they'll win this game. I'm going to go with like a 24-21 final.
All right. So what was your final again?
24-21.
All right. So you're taking the under.
Yeah. What is it? 45.5?
45.5. There you go,
Yeah.
Paulie. Look at you.
Yeah.
By a half a point. Make sure you buy the half, as Hop would like to say. So, Hess, where are you at on this game? Buy the half. Buy the half.
Man, it's going to be a tight game either way because I think it's going to be high scoring because I think the offense plays better, but the defense will play worse. Listen, the Eagles, for whatever reason, man, they struggle. No matter who they're playing, they struggle in the early part of their schedule. All right, last year they had to come back from 17-0 in the first game against Washington. They were the team that came back from 17-0 down last year in Week 1 against Washington. Right. They lose to Atlanta. They lose inexplicably to Detroit.
Detroit was a bad loss, right?
Right. Like in the year before, we go down to Tampa, a game we should have won.
Yeah.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick throws all over. So it's like, and even the Super Bowl year, we go into Kansas City and lose. Started out 1-1. So well,
they better win this week and then Cincinnati next week because then they got San Fran after that. So
that's what I'm saying, man. They had 3 of their easier games when you looked at the schedule before the season started. There's 3 of their easiest games were at the beginning of the year.
First 3 games, right?
But the problem is they start out slow. So I don't like their chances this Sunday. I actually have the Rams winning 31-27.
Okay. Eagles going to score 27?
Yep. Well, you have them scoring 24.
Well, that's true. I guess it's not.
All right. Yeah. All right, so you have them. All right, you have them of the over, and I'm going to be the Debbie Downer of the group because Eagles stink. They stink out loud. They make me absolutely sick to my stomach that I buy the gear that I buy. As you can see, my fresh 19. This is a Seth Joyner starter John right here. I love it, but I think the Eagles get absolutely blown out. Home field or home opener. No one's going to be there. No tailgating. No nothing. The Eagles don't have the leaders on either side of the football to get this team motivated to say that was a horrible performance last week. It's inexcusable. We're a better football team than that. I think they know they stink. I think they know that they have no chance of making the playoffs this year. They're not going to make a run at the Super Bowl, and things are going to get absolutely ripped up after the season. They're going to blow it out. The Eagles are going to get blown the frig out of the building on Sunday. I am predicting a 35-7 football game.
Oh.
And next Wednesday on the Green Room, you're going to see a lot more cursing, swearing, telling everybody that these guys should die, whatever it may be. It's going to be ugly on Sunday.
You wish death. Nobody else wishes death but you. So
I wish death. But here's the thing. This is not my normal. I'm going to say that they lose and hope that they win. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be rooting for them to win. I know that's going to make Brian Attard very, very sick because God forbid you root for your football team to win. But I just absolutely no faith in this football team. I am taking the Rams. I actually might take them on the alternate line. I haven't gotten that far yet, but actually I'm not going to bet the Rams, but because I don't bet for against the Eagles. But if I had to pick, I'm picking the Rams to absolutely blow the doors off of the Eagles. So we all have our picks. All right. We're going to track them this year. So at the end of the year, we can see, because as you can make your performances whenever you want. You can submit your picks. And Paul, you're probably not going to have one right all year because you haven't been right ever in your life. So it is going to be
I think you're getting me mixed up with the other host.
Oh, Aunt Morella, who bid $500 on a backup running back. Oh, okay, all right.
Oh.
That was an interesting thing that we woke up to this morning. We have a fantasy league that obviously a lot of us are involved in, and the self-proclaimed guru, who is Anthony Morella, who we all love, put a $500 bid, which is our entire free agent acquisition budget, on Benny Snell. So guys, make sure when you see Morella to shoot him a text, laugh at him, say you're how stupid you are, and you're no longer the guru, because that title is on the line this week against none other than Paulie Macrie. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting week of football, and we're going to wrap this up. I mean, I understand that sometimes we go for an hour, sometimes we go for 30 minutes, we go for 45 minutes. Unless you guys have anything to add. Paulie, you got any closing remarks on this Eagles season and this upcoming week?
Not really. I think we hit it on the head. I think we exhausted all our points, and I truly believe they're going to win this week, but that's not indicative of what I think the entire season is going to be. I just think they'll win and get everybody's hopes up going into next week. So that's all. Fantastic.
And Hess, closing remarks.
Oh man. Trevor Lawrence is going to look pretty good in Eagle Green.
Watch them this week against the Citadel. Let's go.
Listen, the Citadel always puts out a good product. I hate when people say that the ACC and those guys don't play anybody. The Citadel has a great football team, so I'm sure Clemson will struggle this week. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence would look good. He would look good in Eagles Green, but I just don't think they're going to be bad enough to get him. So because there are some other putrid football teams out there. But what are you pointing your finger at?
Which conference stepped up to the plate and manned up and played and wasn't scared about the pandemic? The ACC. I don't care. Everybody else, the SEC is hiding.
The ACC, that's right. Screw the Big Ten. Forget the SEC.
Now they're going to play.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to love Florida State does not give any Fs.
Yeah, they had a full stadium, right?
People all over each other, no masks. Oh, it was freaking phenomenal.
Wow.
They didn't care at all.
That's football.
Phillies stink too.
Come on.
Screw the Phillies.
Everyone needs an escape from life. Yeah, stinks. Everybody stinks. The green room does not stink, though. So, guys, thank you very much for tuning in this week. Hopefully next week it's going to be a much happier crew. But again, like I said, as you heard, they stink. They're probably going to lose. The other two are a little bit more optimistic of this week, but we're going to see. So until next week, guys, this is The Green Room. I am Chris Wilhelm, your host, along with Paul Macrie and Brian Hess. Check us out on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We are The Sports Box. This is The Green Room. Eagles football.
Thank you for watching The Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.